Welcome to the Akashic Library.
Have you ever found yourself completely devoted to someone who, if you're being totally honest, isn't always that nice to you? It's a really confusing and frankly painful thing that so many of us go through. So today, we're going to get into the psychology behind this and figure out why we sometimes fall for people who just don't treat us well. All right, let's dive right in. When you're caught up in that whirlwind of a new romance, or even when you're deep into a relationship, your head is just buzzing with 1,000 thoughts about this person. But there is one single, incredibly important question that people who are deeply in love almost never stop to ask themselves. And here it is. Is the person I love nice to me? It seems almost too simple, right? Amidst all these huge feelings of passion and the certainty that you found the one, this really basic question just gets completely buried. We're so sure they're amazing, but we forget to check, are they actually kind? And this leads us straight into the heart of the paradox. How is it possible that we can feel such intense devotion, such deep care for someone whose behavior towards us is, well, often pretty bad? Let's unpack this contradiction. I mean, this is where you can really see the disconnect. On our side, it's all about devotion. We're thinking, they're incredible, we're pouring all this care and passion into it. But then on their side, there's the reality of how they act. Maybe they're grumpy all the time, or they're unfaithful, or they take forever to reply to a simple text. The gap between these two columns is just enormous. So, this leads us to a really challenging, almost upside-down idea. What if our devotion isn't just a mistake? The source material we're looking at suggests that for some of us, we love these people not despite the fact that they're unkind, but in some strange, unconscious way because of it. I know it sounds illogical, but there's a deep psychological reason for this. To really get this, we have to go back in time, and I mean way back. The root of this whole pattern isn't really about your current partner's mysterious charm. It's about the very first blueprint you ever had for what love is, and that was drawn up when you were a little kid. Yeah, this isn't some new problem that just popped up in your adult life. The tendency to be drawn towards people who are distant or difficult, well, that's a pattern with really deep roots, set in place long before you ever went on your first date. You see, for some of us, our brain's core definition of love got wired in a really complicated way. If we had caregivers who were supposed to love us, but were maybe distant or critical or just absent, we didn't stop loving them. Of course not. Instead, our young minds created this powerful association. Love became linked with a kind of suffering, with their absence, and with this constant nagging hope that maybe tomorrow things would get better. And that whole process teaches us some pretty unhealthy lessons. We learn to blame ourselves when other people disregard us. We learn to be endlessly patient, just waiting for a little affection. We learn not to call out bad behavior for what it is, a hardness of heart. And we just keep hoping, endlessly, that one day that other person will finally change. So flash forward to adulthood, and those childhood lessons, they've become our instincts. When a partner is distant or unkind, it doesn't trigger a red flag. Instead, it triggers a familiar feeling. We don't even register it as bad behavior. We register it as a sign to try harder, to earn their love, just like we did when we were kids. We're just replaying a very old, very painful script. Okay, so that explains the problem, which is a big part of the battle. But the most important thing is figuring out how to break the cycle. And to do that, we need to throw out that old rule book and bring in a new, crystal clear, non-negotiable rule for love. And here is that rule in its simplest form. It's not about charm or excitement or chemistry or potential. The one and only true foundation for a healthy, happy relationship is just simple, consistent kindness. Everything else has to come second. Let's turn this into a mantra, something you can use as a filter for anyone you think about letting into your heart. We should only love people who are both kind and keen. Kind in how they treat us, and keen, as in they are genuinely excited and eager to be with us, with no games or hesitation. And this is the distinction that changes everything. Anyone who doesn't meet that kind and keen standard is simply not a real candidate for your love. That intense pull you might feel towards them, that's not passion. It's familiarity. They are a residue of trauma, just a reflection of those old wounds that you're trying to heal. So what does this look like in the real world? Well, the red flags become really clear. If someone isn't sure they can commit,
it's time to walk away. If they consistently choose to spend time with friends over you, walk away. If they ever make you feel like your needs or feelings are too much, that is a huge sign. That's not a problem for you to fix. It's a sign they are not the one. And this all brings us to one final thought. Armed with this new, simple rule, the rule of kindness, I want you to take a moment and apply it. Look at your past, look at your present, and ask yourself this really powerful question. Who in your life is a true candidate for your love?
Taking it slowly isn't a lack of interest. It's a sign of care. Real connection deepens when both people feel safe enough to be honest and intentional.